Welcome to Beat Diabetes. I'm Dennis Pollock, and today is Chocolate Day. We're going to talk a little bit about chocolate. When you think about chocolate, if you're into healthy eating and you consider yourself a healthy eater, you probably associate chocolate with junk food. It's just junk food. It's right up there with candy bars and Little Debbie snack cakes and all the other junk that people eat. And well, that's sort of true and sort of not true. Actually, you might be surprised to know that chocolate by itself, without human tampering, is not junky at all. It's actually a pretty healthy food and has a number of benefits. It's kind of humorous how you can look up the benefits and negatives of chocolate, and if you get the right list, it'll show all the negatives and tell you it's bad for your heart, it's bad for diabetes, it can lead to strokes. It's just a terrible thing. On the other hand, you can find other lists that tell you it's good for your heart, it's good for your metabolic system, and it keeps you from heart attacks and strokes. So it depends on where you look. But the problem with chocolate is not chocolate, it's what we do with the chocolate. So where does chocolate come from? It comes from the cacao bean, and it grows on trees. They say money doesn't grow on trees, and that's true. But chocolate does grow on trees. That is, the cacao bean grows in pods on a cacao tree. Well, that makes sense. If you're going to be a cacao bean, I guess you'd want to grow on a cacao tree. And they take that and they process it and they pull the guts out of the pods, and these pods have about 50 beans per, and they let it dry out, and the other stuff, the pulp that's in there, kind of turns into liquid and goes away, and then you have the bean, and then they do some processing with the bean and cook it, and they mash it and grind it into a powder, and eventually they turn it into chocolate. But you know, if you ate the chocolate as I've just described it without them doing anything else, you would find it's bitter. Let me give you an example of that. So this is Baker's Premium Baking Bar, and it says unsweetened chocolate. They forgot to put in the sugar. Well, they didn't actually forget. They deliberately decided not to because they knew there'd be some folks who didn't want to have sugar in their chocolate. They wanted to sweeten it some other way or do something else. So here is an example of this chocolate. It looks like chocolate. It has the feel of chocolate. But it's not going to taste like the kind of chocolate you've ever eaten unless you've eaten this. So let me just take a bite and give you my reaction. Well, it tastes like chocolate, but something's not quite right because we Americans are used to chocolate tasting sweet, and there's no sweetness here. It's just the slightest bit bitter, but it's definitely not sweet. So I use these, I kind of shave them with a knife into little tiny shavings and put them in my chocolate mug cakes. And really, the taste of this isn't all that bad, even without the sugar, but I'm a spoiled American and I'm expecting my chocolate to taste kind of sweet. So when I realized, as someone who struggled with diabetes, that I could no longer eat sweets, I kind of assumed chocolate is out, until I found out that it is not out. You just can't sweeten it with sugar. Sugar is the monster. Sugar is the villain. Sugar is the evil, dastardly villain that wants to destroy you. And there are a number of other ways to make things sweet that are not going to be nearly so bad as sugar. And I know some of you purists, you don't want anything ever sweet. You won't eat stevia, erythritol, allulose, monk fruit. You just won't eat any of that, and that's fine. You know, that's your choice. But I've been using those kind of products to sweeten things for about 22 years now, and I enjoy something sweet now and then. So I've got a number of videos on my channel that have chocolate-type food items. Of course, my favorite is chocolate peanut clusters, and those things are so good. So we'll leave a description about the chocolate peanut clusters. Very easy to make, and there's no baking involved. Another one is a chocolate drizzled cheesecake, and to me that's just about my favorite dessert. The only negative there is it has a lot of ingredients, and it's a complicated recipe to make. It can be made. It's not that it's hard exactly. It just takes time. And I don't like to use too much time. So I don't make those often, but maybe once or twice a year I might make one of those chocolate drizzled orange cheesecakes, and boy, they are good. So that's another recipe that we've got on the channel. You will have a link in the description. What else do we have? The chocolate mug cake, of course. I make those frequently, and I've shown how to do those. And you can spray a little whipped cream on them, or you can make some keto ice cream, and is really, really good. So great for a Saturday night when you do like Benedict and me. You watch an old black and white classic movie from the 40s or 50s or 30s, and you have a little dessert. That's the one time I cheat and actually eat something at a distance from my meal. Normally, once my dinner meal is complete and in the bank, I just don't eat anything until the next day when I have my bulletproof coffee in the morning. But Saturdays, I cheat deliberately, and that's when I will give a little time, and then we'll put on an old movie, classic movie. I like Humphrey Bogart. And I'll have a little dessert and some coffee, usually decaf these days. So today I thought we would just, in honor of chocolate, do something that I really haven't done or made, and that is create a simple, quote, chocolate bomb. Why do they call them chocolate bombs? Well, it has something to do with the amount of fat that is in them. In this case, this is a fat bomb. They're all over YouTube, so you can just type in chocolate fat bomb in the YouTube search box, and you can have probably 100 different recipes or more to try. This one I found, and it is by Lauren Kennedy West. Interesting lady. She has a pretty good-sized YouTube channel, and it's different than most. It does feature keto eating, but there's a bigger issue for her, and that is she was diagnosed with schizophrenia and had some real mental health issues. And she learned that keto eating and low-carb eating can really help with mental health. And so she decided to try keto as a sort of a last desperate measure. And lo and behold, it worked beautifully. And she hardly has these episodes. And she's got a YouTube channel now, and she talks about mental health as well as the keto low-carb, fat-burning diet. So you might want to check her out. I'll leave a description for her channel or leave a link for her channel in the description. So anyway, let's get to these particular keto bombs, chocolate fat bombs. And they are, one thing that they've got going for them, in my opinion, is, and I haven't tasted them yet, so I can't say too much, but they don't look like they're going to be very hard to make. They look pretty simple. So here's a simple bowl, and then we start the ingredients. It's going to involve some coconut oil. I've got some melted coconut oil in this glass, so I'll be using melted coconut oil. It also has, she uses almond butter. I'm using peanut butter, but it's organic and no sugar added. It's just peanuts and salt and whatever carbs may be found in the peanut. And then some chocolate powder. I'm going to actually use two kinds. The Nestle Toll House chocolate. You've probably seen this in the stores. And there is also a dark container that has this chocolate cacao powder, 100% pure cocoa, so no added sugar. And then I've had this around. I haven't used it a lot, but it's black cocoa. And it's very similar to this, except it's blacker, it's richer, and probably a little bit more bitter. So we've got that. We're going to sweeten it with some allulose, put a few nuts in it, and we'll see how it goes. No cooking involved in this chocolate fat bomb. It's just you make it, you put it in the freezer, you wait a half an hour, and boom, you're done. I bought this today at Walmart. I'm kind of proud of this little mini muffin pan, and it's got these silicone cups. So we're actually going to take them out and fill up 6 of them with this recipe and see how good they are. Okay, so we'll start with our coconut oil, 1/3 cup of coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of allulose, and 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, We'll try 1 tablespoon of the light and 1 of the dark, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, or in my case, fake vanilla extract, and 2 tablespoons of natural peanut butter without sugar added. And we're going to stir it around. A lot of people use a whisk, but in my case, I'm just kind of a simple guy. I use a simple spoon and it works just fine. And to make this extra special, I'm going to make it nutty with 2 different types of nuts. I'm going to use these chopped pecans. Just throw a handful in there. So look at this chocolatey, nutty goodness. Wow. Nobody would be able to know that this is keto. So when I pour this into these 6 cups, or it might make 7, I'm going to put about 3 or 4, let's make it 4 of these almonds. So they start with the almonds in them, and then 2 pretty full tablespoons. I mean, you could fill it up to the top if you wanted, but that's really a little too much. So all I have to do now is put these babies back in here, and they are ready to go into the freezer. I'll put them in the freezer for about maybe 45 minutes, and then give them the taste test. These chocolate treats have been in the freezer for not quite 45 minutes, and they are perfect. If I look at them, they look just like an official chocolate treat would look. You peel off the little silicone cover, and boom, look at that. Just really good. The only thing different about this kind of chocolate is once you get it out of the freezer and leave it out for a few minutes, like I've done here, it starts to melt a little bit. So you got to eat them fast. The good news is you can eat them right out of the freezer. They're not that rock hard that you will have trouble chewing them once you pull them out of the freezer and start eating them. So let me just take a taste. These are just absolutely great. So when you hear about chocolate, don't say to yourself, well, I'm diabetic, I can't eat chocolate. You can eat it, just make sure it's the right kind and not sweetened with sugar, but just about any other non-sugar sweetener will be preferable and will keep your glucose from spiking. So enjoy yourself, and don't forget to check out those other videos I made about chocolate desserts and treats. They'll be found in the description. God bless. See you again soon. On my Bible channel, we're now offering audio podcasts of the Bible studies Ben and I have in the mornings. An audio podcast means there's no video to watch, and that means you can listen to it while you're doing other things. If you're out and about, you can play it through your car stereo while driving. You can listen through earphones while you walk or exercise at the gym. And if you're at home and going to be in the same room for a while, you can simply put your phone on speaker, or you could buy an inexpensive Bluetooth radio and pair it with your phone, or do the same thing with a Bluetooth speaker. So welcome to our home as you drop in on Ben and me as we study the Bible together.